Hello, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Very most importantly, let me say a special greeting to Professor Mabel, who is also here with us as one of our guests today. Unfortunately, I think Professor Mabel has just gone offline, so I expect that she will join us back. I mean, this is the Association of Nigerian Authors, the Abuja chapter of it. This is the Abuja chapter of the Association of Nigerian Authors, and we call this literary discourse. We have been having these sessions of literary discourse even before the pandemic, and so instead of just staying back there and watching, we decided, why don't you get back to what we have been doing using the digital platform? So on behalf of the entirety of membership of the Association of Nigerian Authors, Abuja chapter, I'd like to welcome you to the 4th edition of our literary discourse. Interestingly, this edition is going to be a conversation. It's going to be a conversation. Professor Mabel Evioroma, yes, was in earlier on, and then I think due to network situation, she went off the line again. Okay, I just admitted her back here. I just admitted her back here now, luckily. Just waiting now for Sefia to join us. If Sefia is not able to join us, I am sure that Prof is more than capable of doing justice to this situation. And let me tell you, I am a theater practitioner. Jerry Adesho is my name. And in addition to being the secretary of ANA, I am also the artistic director of Aroja Royal Theatre. Well, what I am trying to say is that in theater, we say to ourselves, the show must go on, whatever the situation. So even where we are not able to have Sefia or even Prof, I mean, with the number of persons we have here, I am sure we can still do justice to our discussion today, trusting on the brilliance of those of you who are already here in the house. So once again, I'd like to welcome you to Literary Discourse 4.0. And I want to start with a poem. You know the times we are in. And so a member of ANA just scripted this poem that I am just going to quickly share with us this evening. And it is titled, We Have a Cure. We have a cure. Unfortunately, I could not share it because it's on my phone, so I'll just read it. And I hope you can grab it. I guzzle my food without NAFDAC approval, and my tummy does not give a quirk, and no virologist or epidemiologist has regurgitated Ofe Egusi or Afansu for non-certification. But of the mind imprisoned by bureaucracy, everything is weighed on scale or measured by tape, and someone has to count how many swooshes the cleaner's broom has made. To cure a pandemic, everyone is in guard, waiting for clinical trial to end. The garlic, ginger, aloe we use for cough, they say is not approved, but we have got a life to lead as humans from reason and intuition, and not as a well-designed app to be turned on and off by someone from a briefcase. That is a poem written by a gentleman by the name Chidike Ejiofor. And because today, okay, permit me to quickly recognize the presence in the house of Ajia Sefia Ismaila Yero. She's in the house. And also we already have Professor Mabel back in the house. If you can hear me, please let us clap for them to welcome them, please. Let us just appreciate them. Let us clap for them to welcome them. Yes. As some of you will probably know, because the participants I'm seeing here, I can bet most of them are from these two guests today, because I am not seeing the faces of our regular ANA members for now, save for my dear sister Gertrude here. So I am sure you are well familiar with our two very special guests in the house today. And so once again, Prof and Ajia Sefia, I welcome you. The entire membership of ANA extends their gratitude to you for being here with us this evening. And so here we start. I'm going to leave you, gentlemen and ladies, in the hands. I'm not going anywhere, but I'm going to unmute Professor Mabel and Ajia Sefia, and then we are going to start today's interaction. It is not going to be me or you asking them questions. There will be time for us to do that, but this is supposed to be a conversation between two scholars. And the focus for today is major themes in Nigerian literature. I don't know what works, what books, what plays, what novels or poems they have decided to talk about, but I know they are more than capable, to enlighten us on this. And if you look at the poem we have just read, it also points to the writer and its environment. Ejiofor has just written about this environment, what is happening at this moment, or what we can call literature and crisis management or whatever. So in this conversation, let us, in the next 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or as they decide, as you know, if you want to go, we have 1 hour 45 minutes all together, 1 hour 30 minutes all together for this session. It's supposed to wrap up at 5:30. We'll do some reading in between, but right now I am going to hand you over to Professor Mabel Eviroma and Ajia Sefia Ismaila Yero. You're welcome. You can unmute from your end. Ajia, unmute from your end. Yes. Okay.
Yes, I've done that. Sorry, I didn't get what you said. Like I lost the connection.
Yeah, that it's a conversation between you two. Hello. Hello. Can you hear me now? Did you get that? Yes, it's raining already, so network is a bit.
Yes, the network is tricky. Yeah.
Yes, because of the rain, I'm sure. Okay.
Okay.
Are we good to go now?
Okay, yes, I didn't hear anything you said in the last 2-3 minutes. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I was saying that that the conversation is between you and Prof, and I don't know what books you have agreed. We're just going to listen to the two of you have a conversation on the choice on our topic for today, and then after that, the participants and myself would now ask some questions.
Okay. It's clear. So I think I'll first of all like to use this opportunity to thank Anna Abuja and you, Jerry, in particular, and everyone here present It's really an honor for me to have this conversation side by side with my lecturer, my mentor, someone I really look up to, a woman that can stand and fit into any shoes, any day, anywhere. So I would like to maybe have her, start the conversation, and then we'll have a discussion.
Okay, Prof. Sorry, please, if you are listening to me, can we, someone is trying to share, and that will disrupt the process for now. So can you please stop the share? Good, thank you. Prof. Hello, Prof. Prof. Okay, I think that Prof is no longer in here with us.
It's the network, I believe. It's the network.
Yes, yes. So I think we should just go on with you while we wait for Prof to come.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Now you said we'll be talking about themes in. I think isn't she here?
No, she's not.
She's here. Oh, she's not. Okay.
She's not the one.
Okay. We were talking about themes in Nigerian literature, right?
Yes. Yes.
Now, first of all, I would like to make it clear, like we all know that not just Nigerian writers, African writers, and even all writers all around the world write as a way of reacting to the happenings around them. Writers do not write from a vacuum. We all know that. So if you look at the books that have been published right from the beginning of written Nigerian literature in English, from the times of Chinua Achebe in the 50s till date, you will see that there is a particular trend associated with every period. That is because writers of that particular period tend to be reacting to the happenings. They share common society. They share things happening to them at the same time. So various writers react to that situation. Take, for instance, the contemporaries of Chinua Achebe, that's Wole Soyinka and Achebe, for instance. They wrote on the themes that dwell in their literature are mostly tradition versus modernity, the clash of cultures, people living their traditional, the traditional societies they are used to, and moving, accepting this foreign cultures. You can see that in The Lion and the Jewel. You can see that in Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart. And then, of course, after independence, we have writings like writings of Festus Iyayi, and and even the poems of Christopher Okigbo, and the poetry of Neo Shundare, talking about post-independence disillusionment, and even the post-independent literature written by Achebe also dwell on post-independence disillusionment as a theme, because then Nigerians felt after independence everything will be fine, like they're going to have Nigeria is going to be perfect, everything will be fine. They had so much expectations, and then was gotten by Nigerians. It turned out that the rulers do not have any much difference with the white rulers. So writers reacted with the white colonial masters, rather. So writers reacted by writing about all those things: the post-independence disillusionment, the thriving, corruption, the stratification between the ones, the lower class and the higher class, and all that. But then moving away from that, even though, of course, we are still having the issues surrounding post-independence, we are still disillusioned, So at some point there was military rule, and then we got back to democracy. And then even in our democratic government, we are still disillusioned because, we expected a lot. Like, for instance, when the president was in power, people came out and voted en masse, thinking that, oh, Buhari will do the magic for Nigeria. And then here we are today, and we are still disillusioned. So writers kept on writing to react to this situation. Now, aside from all this, another thriving theme that has featured in recent literature, especially in northern Nigerian literature, which is my area, is which has bedeviled northern Nigeria, which started a little bit in Kaduna. We had the religious and ethnic uprisings in Kaduna, and then we had those in Jos, and then gradually it escalated in Borno with the coming of Boko Haram in Borno, which has generated a lot of literature, actually. Now, one of those literature that dwell on the theme of insurgency even got shortlisted for the NLNG Prize for Literature on a Tuesday, which dissects, of the Boko Haram sect in northern Nigeria. And then another text that dwelled on the theme of insurgency and ethnic and religious violence is Edify Yakusak's After They Left, published in 2014, I think, in 2014, which also highlighted the upheaval in Jos, the ethnic and religious violence in Jos, and how it affected the lives of the people living there. And even the winning text of 2016 NLNG for Literature, which is Abubakar Adam Ibrahim's Season of Crimson Blossoms, also touched on the impact, the implication, the psychological effect of this violence on the human mind. We have a character, Faiza, who couldn't come to terms with the violence she saw during the Just uprising, which also took the life of her father. So it manifested in, her character. It affected her, and we could see that in the way she relates, the way she reacts, even. So I think so far the themes, the most relevant, or rather the dominant themes in Nigerian literature of us, right, on patriarchy, on feminism, and all that. But I think these are the major ones, because you can have so many texts. You can see so many texts that dwell on these themes. I don't know if Prof is here yet, or if I should go on. Hello,
here.
Jerry.
Good evening. Good evening.
Yes. Good evening, Prof. Prof is here, so let's hear
Prof. Good evening, Prof.
Prof is here.
Good evening,
so we'll
my
get to listen to Prof.
Good evening, Ma.
So, Prof, Ma.
Good evening. How are you? Yeah,
I'm fine, thank you.
Good evening.
Lafia, Ma, it's good to see you.
Same here. Well, talking about themes in modern African literature, you could see modernity, from the perspective of what is contemporary of life as we see it, as we witness it. But it is proper to start from the premise of looking at what modernity really is. You know, modernity, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Hello?
Yes.
We can hear.
Yes, bro, we can hear you.
Modernity
Yes, we can.
connotes modernity, modernity connotes that rationality, that ability to view life from a perspective of organization in terms of science, education, rational thinking, belief in progress, large scale production, and what have you. And we could counter that with what became the postmodern, which meant that standpoint of querying rationality, of bringing in the diversities of life, the unpredictability of life, and the fact that life is flexible. And so in modern African literature, we could also now segmentalize literature into North, where you have the Maghrebian authors and writers like Nal El Sadawi, Naguib Mahfouz, West Africa, of course, that is our region, sub-region, where you have Amata Idu, Soyinka Clark, Oshofison, and then the modern crops of writers, Onukaba Ojo, Udodo, Sojiko, Umukuru, and what have you. And then you go to East Africa, Ngugi, and then South Africa, where you have those who fought apartheid, dramatist, novelist, poet, Dennis Brutus, Alex Laguma, Nadine Gordimer, and what have you. And so the themes of African literature would have to be considered across these various lines. If we want to look at literature from the Francophone, Anglophone, or Lusophone perspectives, that would have to be the literature or the language through which we encountered these writers. And so African literature could be literature by Africans, written by writers of African descent, or literature about Africa written by those who are residents in Africa, or usually from across the Atlantic. And so these things would vary across the forms of literature that we encounter. Of course, it is important for me to state here that literature would also include orature, okay? The folk tales, the songs, the wise sayings that were handed down to us from generation to generation. And these had very laudable